In 2018, over $1 billion worth of cinema tickets were sold for the movie Black Panther. I'm not sure how many people are aware of that. Millions of people around the world watched it. Maybe you did too. Definitely did. And if you look closely at the walls of Wakanda, at the ships, at the throne room, you saw a writing system. Strange, beautiful symbols. The script wasn't fictional completely, right? The script was of a fictional African super civilization, which looked nice and fantastic when you watch it. But here's what most millions of people didn't see in the movie or never knew about. The writings were not invented in Hollywood. The designers of Black Panther based the Wakanda script on something real, something from Cross River here in Nigeria. The forests, the waterways, the present-day Nigeria meets Cameroon. That's where the writing and the symbol came from, around that region, thousands of years ago. The symbol, some people say is centuries years old, some people say it's thousands of years old, but who knows? There have been studies done since the 1900s to kind of tell us how far these symbols have dated in our history. We're just here to ask those questions and to also bring that to light to as many people as possible who watch this video. So do well to like, share, and comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that would be fantastic if you do as we proceed with this episode. This ripening system was from our ancestors and it dates back centuries or thousands of years, like I said. It's called Nsibidi. And the question I want to ask is simple. Why did the whole world have to meet our writing in a movie? Everybody would have that piece of history that they learned growing up that we didn't have a writing system. That's why, colonization was good for us. But sorry to burst your bubble. We did. And if you stick to the end of this video, I'll point you to a direction of how to download the Nsibidi dictionary so you can have an idea of what these symbols mean and get a little bit of the past after watching this video. Welcome to Through the Veil. I'm Rado Chukwuma. Not everything forgotten is lost. Every generation believes he understands the world better than the one before it. We have more technology, more information, more convenience. But have we forgotten something? This is a journey into African history, forgotten civilizations, philosophy, archaeology, spirituality, culture, and a timeless question that continues to shape who we are. Together, we'll separate the myths from mishistory, tradition from evidence, and assumption from truth. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries are not new, they are simply remembered. This is episode 6, Nsibidi, Africa's forgotten language of symbols. The question beneath all of it: can symbols preserve knowledge better than words? So here's the lie that we were not taught. Let me start with a sentence you've probably heard all your life again. Africa had no writing. I know you've heard that over and over again. I did too. And trust me, it was astonishing to get to learn about Nsibidi after over 20 years of my life on Earth. That's absolutely crazy. Now, this particular sentence has been, said in colonial classrooms. It's still implied in textbooks. It sits quietly underneath the word prehistoric whenever it is stamped on African societies. No writings, therefore no records. No records, therefore no history. No history, therefore story goes. History began when the Europeans arrived to write it for us. That's basically how we've seen the world in our own worldview as Africans. And that's exactly what this podcast is trying to help us solve, bring that history back into our forefront. Let us know that we are not as lowly as we've been prescribed to be by the Western world, and there's so much about Africa that we have not been taught, and you probably not learn if you don't come across this video or videos like this, or just curiosity leads you to wanting to ask more questions and do more research. But apart from just watching what we put out here, it's also important that you also do your research, watch more videos like this, and share, ask questions if you don't already know. But as much as possible, the message needs to go out. We need to create a different Africa whereby we know our ancestors, we revere them, and we are confident in who we are and the rich history that we come from. But there's a very big problem with that statement, and that statement is very false. Egypt had an ancient civilization here in Africa, and they gave the world hieroglyphics, one of the world's oldest writing systems on Earth, basically. Ethiopia also had their own written script in the Gaia script. So that is over 1,000 years and it's still in use till today, right? In the Kingdom of Kush, they developed their own script, it's the Meroitic script, and then we have even modern day script like the Ndebe script written by a Nigerian also in the 1990s here. So there's been different forms of writing systems that we've had over the years. So the whole idea or notion that there were no forms of writing in Africa is wrong. So even if they like to exclude West Africa from the ancient African story in a way when it comes to civilizations like Ethiopia, Egypt, Kush, and and the rest. The truth is, a lot was still going on in West Africa, and if we had more recorded history without those that were destroyed or stolen by colonizers over time, and those lost through oral tradition, there's a whole lot of history about us that all we can do is try to uncover, right, and fill gaps in, as opposed to no history at all. So it's imperative that we take history a little bit more serious in this part of the world. We need to kind of always remind ourselves who we are at every point in time. So governments and institutions need to really gather around the whole concept of historical restoration and preservation. So in forests in Cross River, in the lands of Ejagam, the Efik, the Ibibio, the Anang, and eastern part of Nigeria, eastern side of Igbo territory, if that makes sense. There was Nsibidi going on for years. Places like Arochukwu in current-day Abia State would also had that practice of Nsibidi going on, as early as 1900 still. Now, it's a good question to ask, like a fair-minded person. But what is Nsibidi? What really is Nsibidi when you ask that question? Scholars of writing draw a distinction. Some systems record the sounds of the language. So scripting comes based off of sound, right? So every letter or character stands for a sound, just the way we have a, de, che, de, right? We've tried to bring our language and create symbols for sounds. But there's another category, right? Systems that record ideas directly, independent of spoken language. So think of like mathematical notations like pi, right? Or musical notations also. Road signs, things like that. They basically are inscriptions that are ideological, if that makes sense. And that's where Nsibidi belongs. It's an ideograph, right? More or less. So it speaks to ideas rather than being written based on sound. So it's not an alphabet. It does not spell sound. However, over the years, it's been developed into having symbols that represent alphabets. Thus, we could start writing in that form, but then it's a language that also needs further development, if you ask me. I just hope that we have people, I know we do have people who really care about Nsibidi. I've had some conversations in the past on species and stuff like that with like minds who are also researchers in Nsibidi. So it's something that would be nice for you to get the hang of. And like I said, we stay till the end of the video. I'll give you a link to download the Nsibidi dictionary rather. What is this system? Like, let's get more specific, right? Nsibidi is a body of symbols, hundreds of them, indigenous to the Cross River region and parts of Cameroon, Nigeria, Cameroon region, where that was the word boundary meets, that there's a whole region around that axis where origination of the Nsibidi script is acclaimed to. Over the years, right, the vehicle that has spread this story has been the institution called the Ekpe Society, the Leopard Society in English. The confraternity of titled men that operate across the whole region, regulating trade, enforcing laws, settling disputes. At the time, Ekpe was in many ways the government of the Cross River world, and Nsibidi was a script. So how do we know about it? In the first years of the 20th century, British colonial officers and missionaries in the Cross River region began reporting with some astonishment that people around them were using a system of signs. In 1909, a missionary named J.K. McGregor published a study titled Some Notes on Nsibidi. Shortly after, between 1910 and 1911, a colonial officer named Elphinstone Durrell published collections of Nsibidi signs in British anthropological journals, recording between these early researchers hundreds of distinct symbols with their meaning. This was when the colonial masters came in touch, basically, with Nsibidi, which was, like I said, in the 1900s. So there were different signs that they put out: signs of love, signs of quarrel, signs of divorce, signs of journey, money, meeting, congratulations, danger. There were various signs that they published at the time. McGregor recorded something absolutely remarkable: an entire court case, the record of a real dispute, right, with his parties, his adultery accusation, his witnesses, his judgments, set down in Nsibidi. So they had even an actual full document written in Nsibidi. Not a single alphabetical word was found in it, and it was a complete legal record in symbols. So just picture that in your mind to understand the level at which it was used in day-to-day governmental and just societal uses and levels and reasons of usage. So like I said, it's deeper than just having it as art on buildings, on walls, or tattoos or ornaments that we wear. It was also used as legal duties, basically, in the society. So it ran on two levels, right? There was a public layer, like I said. Nsibidi ran on two layers. The public layer, which is like court documents, reports, right? And they also had a deeper level, more of a sacred level of usage, right? Those kind of signs and the meanings of those signs usually belonged or stayed in the domicile of the initiates of the Ekpe secret society. So within the Ekpe, only those of sufficient rank, had this knowledge, if that makes sense. Just the way we talk of 33 levels of Freemasons, and then how the knowledge gets deeper the higher you rank, right? So that's how it was also for the Ekpe society in terms of sacred Nsibidi scripts. And it's kind of fascinating when you get to look at the dictionary and see the meanings and have an idea. It will be good for us to spread Nsibidi as much as possible. Imagine if that was the way we still wrote, then probably our keyboards, right, would be designed for purpose. These are the kind of things that as Africans we need to own, take kind of ownership of our identity to that level. Because if you go to China, you go to Russia, they write with their own scripts, not with our own alphabet and things. And that kind of helps the mindset in terms of identity, who you are, how you represent yourself on a day-to-day in front of the world and to everybody. And being able to trace ourselves back to that level of self-respect would be massively great for us. Now, the question is, how old is this system? So we've been battling. Some people say centuries, some people say hundreds of years old, and some people say it is over 1,000 years old. But archaeological work found in Calabar region has uncovered ceramics and terracotta objects bearing motifs and designs that researchers have connected to Nsibidi symbols, right? With dates reaching back many centuries by some assessment towards the middle, of the first millennium AD. So that gives us about 1,000 plus years, right? So that's where the 1,000 come in. But then some people can't still, say this is when it was based on just editorial honesty, if that makes sense. This show would always try to keep away the myths, the history, know what the facts say, and try to drop in one or two theories every now and then, but not just guesswork for the sake of it. So, it's hard for us to interpret some of these reports and discoveries that have been made over time. But then that's what we're trying here to do, if that makes any sense, right? The question for me now is, can symbols preserve knowledge better than words, right? When we talk about what we've been talking about in the last 5 episodes, everything has been about remembrance, ancestors, origin. It's all about records, it's all about history, it's all about stuff like that. And then the question now is, can symbols preserve knowledge better than words, and that's a question I want to kind of delve into. Now, first, symbols cross languages. Remember, Ekpe operated across Ejegam, Efik, Ibibio, and Igbo communities. Different languages, sometimes mutually, unintelligible in terms of way different languages were to neighbors. One symbol system bound them into a single legal and commercial world at the time. Same way, the number 7 will work anywhere in the world. So the system is more like an ideology. It was deeper than the words that they spoke, because it was the idea that it gave. So think about it from that perspective. If the word that we wrote came from the ideas, I would always like to trash the English language as much as I can, because what the English language does to us as human beings is that it separates us, or it creates a whole lot more into reality than we bargain for. If we look at what we discussed in the origin episode about Igbo origin, we spoke about the word becoming flesh. So that's what scares me about English language, is that new terminologies could come up any single day. And then we just create new problems into the world every single time. And is that expansivity, if there's a lack of better words to find now, is that expansivity of the English language that makes it so wide and all-encompassing to just grab other ideas into it and create more. I believe it's creation of more problems, because when we start overly repeating negative terminologies like I am broke, right? When you start using such terms on yourself, you kind of find that your word is stronger than what we actually make of it to be. And the number of English words that we use on a day-to-day is actually very scary when you go deeper into the meaning of these words. So let's talk about how Nsibidi crossed the ocean. So part of this story really gives the chills. Well, proceed either way. In the 18th and 19th century, the Atlantic slave trade toured through the Cross River world, right? Calabar was one of his major ports for slave trade. Thousands upon thousands of Efik, Ejegam, Ibibio people were carried in chains across the ocean. They didn't carry clothes, right? We know that they didn't carry their calabash. They carried nothing serious or personal use to them. But at least what they carried were things in their heads. And among the things in their heads was Nsibidi also. In 1836, in a town in Regia, across the bay from Havana, Cuba, enslaved and free Africans from the Calabar region, people the Cubans called the Carabali, right, founded the brotherhood. They called it the Abukwa Brotherhood. It was and it is a reconstruction, as people would say, of the Ekpe Society, the Leopard Society, like I mentioned earlier. But this was on Cuban soil. The Akuba kept the script, the Nsibidi script. To this day, the Akuba tradition uses a system of drawn symbols known as the Anafuruana or the Fermas, right? Signs traced in chalk for ceremonies, rank, and identity. Scholars who have compared them trace their lineage directly back to Nsibidi. So stop and sit with that. Think about it for a second. It didn't just stop in Africa. It's still being used in its own way, because that's just the way this world works. However, while we are happy that it was able to cross across and is still being used in some form, there must be better ways for us to think about its usage in our day-to-day life. I think that's basically the point of this whole podcast and conversation, and why I'm dropping the Nsibidi dictionary at the end of this video, so you can download it and get to know more about it. The link will be in the comment section, and you can always click and download, so you get to learn. And let's get to know those of you who are interested in Nsibidi, and then maybe we could have more conversations, bring in more subject matter experts that could do maybe some sort of training and stuff in terms of how to see and how to interpret with these Nsibidi symbols, if that makes sense. So yes, we've been able to take Nsibidi across our shores even in the worst moments of our history, and then we still preserve that knowledge till date. So just having a reflection of everything that has been said, there are more layers to unpeel when it comes to Nsibidi, but what I've tried to do in this video is talk about the publications of McGregor and Darrell from 1909 to 1911, in museum collections of Ukara clothes, in the living practices of the Abakwa in Cuba, that cross-river people possessed and used an indigenous system of graphic symbols spanning law, love, trade, and ritual. It's a scholarly interpretation still debated exactly how the old system is and how directly the ancient Calabar ceramics connect to it. And it is my interpretation that Nsibidi greatest lesson is not about the past at all. It is this: the people's knowledge does not die when it is attacked, it dies when it's no longer taught. We are going to keep trying to teach it. We are going to keep trying to reinstate it back to its prominence and use. The Wakanda script, filled cinema screens because one production team went looking for real African writer and found it in an afternoon or an evening or in the night. Whenever they found it, glad they did. It was never hidden. It was just never shown to us. We had to go seek for the knowledge. So this week, one small assignment is go look at Nsibidi symbols, check out the dictionary in the comment section, and then search and learn more about it and see what you can find. Our people wrote long before anyone came to teach us how to write. And because the people who believe they never wrote will always let others write their own history, today we decide, no, we're going to start writing our own history for ourselves, and we choose whatever script or language we will write it in. Better be ours. But before we close, spare me another 60 seconds to discuss this directly with you. This whole episode has been all about symbols, but how about a mark that can tell the world who you are, what you know, and whether you can be trusted? Here is a modern version of that truth. Today, your business symbols live online. Your name, your logo, your website, that's your own Ukara cloth now, and it is the world who reads you before you even say a word. And if your business doesn't have a website, then the world will also read and know that, okay, don't actually have a website. And that's why we build Go Digital, helping African businesses take control of how they are seen. And with Go Web, business gets complete professional websites in 7 to 14 days, not months, 7 to 14 days, designed properly, built properly, and ready to start working for you. Our ancestors encoded their history with pride and precision. Do the same for yours. Visit hellogodigital.com or go straight to godigital.com/goweb.html. That's Good Web by Go Digital. The market has moved online. It's time your business joined it. Thank you again for joining me on this journey through history, memory, and the questions that refuse to stay buried. I'm not in my best frame of mind today, but we have to keep pushing these algorithms to get us the right traffic that we want here. And we also need you to keep liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to this channel so that we can teach more and then help the next generation at the very minimum find who they are. But until that time, let's keep asking questions. Let's keep seeking wisdom. And remember, not everything forgotten is lost. I'm Ralu Chukuma. This is True the Veil. See you on the next one.